stay working.
Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before. In your face.
Broadcasting live from beautiful 71-degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and an Oscar. And as we all know, the flashing G stands for your host, me, Grumpy. And unfortunately, we're brought to you by this asshole, Grumpy Vulture Productions. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Something don't sound right. Sounds a little dull. Come on. Which way do we turn this? That way? That way? That way? Maybe it's this one. This way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Must be this one. God damn, I forgot to tighten that goddamn microphone. Oh, this goddamn title is turning into a Mongolian clusterfuck. I got tired of talking to the local bureaus. I called Columbus and got not the information I wanted to hear. Literally, I had to find the original attorney that did the corporation papers because he is attorney of fact or at fact or some ex post facto. So, sometime Google is wonderful. And other time, Google will drive you out of your fucking mind. Because I came up with like 9 goddamn phone numbers. And I call and, Shabuski Law Firm, yeah, I need to speak to so-and-so. Oh, he hasn't been here in 20 years. I called every goddamn number. And this attorney had been with like 7 or 8 different law firms since 1996. And the one secretary goes, I don't know why people keep calling here. He hasn't worked here in like 13 years. I said, well, something on Google needs to be done. I think annually, if you have got a website on Google, you need to go in and say, Google, this information's correct, or no, it's not, delete me, or I'm going to edit it. It still shows this guy working for a law firm that he worked for in 96, and he hasn't been there in years. So I was ready to give up. I was so pissed off, and I just happened to hit the mouse and it blipped up one more, and I'm looking and I'm like, whoa, that's not a 330 phone number. So I call it. It rings twice. Hello, blah, blah, blah. I said, I can't believe this. He goes, what? I says, I have called like 13 different law firms, and you're out on your own. So I said, have you got about 20 minutes of time? He says, yeah, what do you need? So I said, this story goes back to 1997. And I explained it, and he goes, well, I vaguely remember. He goes, I'm only listed for service, like a lawsuit or a subpoena or something. He goes, I'm not an actual corporate member. I said, oh, fuck. He says, well, what do you need? And I said, I need to get the title to this goddamn car. I said, the only employee is dead, who happened to be the CEO. I said, you are listed as attorney of fact. I need this title to this car. I said, the title bureau, even though they're released for sale and the corporation is defunct, they're still saying, yep, the company's still there. It still exists. He said, have the probate attorney call me. I will tell her what items out of all the things she filed that I need. And he said, if she sends me everything I request, I can get this handled. Well, any other time I'd be jumping up and down like a jackrabbit. Like I said before, until I have that piece of paper in my hand, I am not going to be jumping up and down with a smile on my face. Talk about a Mongolian clusterfuck. Jesus Christ. So, a matter of fact, it worked out perfect. 10 minutes before airtime, Bill called me, because last night he called me right in the middle of the show. I gave him all the information. First thing in the morning, he's going to call his lawyer. Hopefully she calls him and we can get the ball rolling on this bullshit, because it's unbelievable. Well, I'll tell you what. Now that I have the whole circle here, I'm going to be calling him on a regular basis. You got the paperwork? No? Okay, hold on. And then I will be calling that and saying, hey, he asked you for X, Y, and Z. Will you please get it to him? I'm sure you're sick and tired of hearing me bitch. If you want to get me off your back and never hear my voice again, let's get the ball rolling. Because I'm getting to the point I am not going to be polite anymore. It's a crock of shit.
Whatever.
No, not whatever. Of course, I keep saying over and over and over to myself, asshole, you know better. You worked at the title bureau for 7 years. You don't buy a car without a title. Of course, too late. I also am going to be meeting him Thursday over at the location where the Corvette is. And I told him, can you please bring the title? He said, well, we haven't agreed on a price. I said, we can discuss that later. I want to physically see that title in your name so that when we do agree on a price, we go to a notary, your signature gets notarized to the seller, and then I transfer that into me. I want to see the title. You keep saying, yep, I got it. Bring it with you. I want to hold it in my hand and look at every square inch. And I'm going to lowball the fuck out of him. And I'm just going to say, I know you want to get rid of all this shit and be done with it. Sell me the car for this. I'll get it out of here. And we're done. You and I part friends. And probably never speak to each other ever again. I know the price that I'm going to lowball them with. He'll turn it down right away. I'm just going to feel him out. See where he stands. Like I say, the first price I know he'll go, oh, no fucking way. Okay, how about this? All right, how about this? Okay, sold. And the sold price will be my original, what I have in my head. Because you never know, I might get it cheaper. All I know is, and he mentioned this last night, he goes, I just want to be done with this shit. Good. Give me the Corvette for my price. Although everybody keeps telling me you're an asshole for even thinking of buying that car. Because nobody buys a perfectly good condition running Corvette, parks it in the driveway for 6 years, and don't touch it. There's something wrong with this car. Hopefully not major. I'm still thinking. I could be wrong. I could get burned here. I'm still thinking, since the paint is all delaminated on this thing, he was going to ship it to a body shop and have a cheap paint job put on it and flip it. But you have to know him. Me, if I was going to do that, I would buy it, immediately get it to a body shop, get it painted, put it up on Faceplant Market Space, and get rid of it. But Jim was the type of person, it's project number 4. I'll get to it. And then project number 5, I'll get to it. Project number 6, I'll get to it. We ended up with project number 9, and he's like, I'll get to him one of these days. Never happened. Not one of the vehicles that he bought as a project ever got touched. Not one. I talked to the neighbor across the street. And he said it's either 6 or 7 years ago. He remembers the flatbed backing in the driveway, dropping that Corvette, Jim closing the gate, and never touched that car again. It turned into a driveway ornament. And I'll finally be able to get a look at the, as much as I hate Dodge, oh, what the hell was that pickup called? Not the big one. The Dodge pickup that, it was a little bit bigger than an S10 and a Ranger. I can't remember what it was called. It came to the market late, but it was also a little bit larger than a Ranger or an S10. And even with it being a little bit larger, it really didn't sell well. You didn't see a lot of them. And I can't think of the model. I'm drawing a blank. It's not the Ram. It was the midsize. Damn it, I'm drawing a blank. Because there was talk of Chrysler bringing it back, especially after Ford and Chevy redesigned the Ranger and the Colorado and the Canyon. Chrysler was going to bring back that pickup, and they never did. And I can't remember what it was called. I'm drawing a complete blank. I can see the truck. I can't remember what. Oh, this is ridiculous. Was it the Dakota? Is that what it was called? The Dakota? Because the Ram is the big one. I think it was called the Dakota. Because that is parked behind the house, and I can't see it. And the Chevy Nova, that's going to go right to the boneyard. Because that car is, it broke right at the firewall, where they all did. Because it was the weakest point of the unibody on that car. Because you had all the weight of the engine and transmission, and there wasn't a lot of rigidity, and it rotted out right there. You would see a lot of Chevy Novas broke in half. And this one's broke in half. Which is a shame. Because the body is really nice on that car. But it could be saved if somebody wanted to put that kind of work into it. I mean, I've seen Mustangs, 64, 65, 66, broke at the firewall because that was the weak point on the Mustang also. And I have seen them fully restored, but you got to have the time, the talent, and the money. Because when you buy something like that, you don't ship it to a body shop. You work on that car yourself. And then Bill was telling me, he said, that Mazda Tribute, he said, we have no idea where that vehicle is. I said, well, did you ever think it's in the garage over at the other house? He said, no. He said, it might be in there. That's the only car they can't find, is that one. I said, it might be in the garage. We'll have to open the garage and look. God, it'll be scary. Maybe find something else in there. You're like, yeah, where'd that come from? I would have liked to have bought one of the Harleys, but he wanted too much. And right now, neither one of them are running, and nobody ever saw Jim riding them. So they could be two basket cases. Of course, God, I've seen basket cases go for big money, especially older Harleys. Although, goddamn Harley, you can fix that thing with a hammer and a screwdriver. I've seen guys rip them engines and transmissions down with their eyes closed and put them back together. But I need something for 365 days a year. I would love to have another motorcycle. I really would. But it really scares me, the thought of motorcyclists today on the road with so much distracted driving. I don't want to be part of the pavement. But God, I would love to. I haven't been on a bike in about 15 years. I would love to have another motorcycle. I would give my right big toe for another motorcycle. There's a place up on 130th that they do summer rentals. They have a whole fleet of rental motorcycles, and they rent them by the month. I was really tempted to go up and see how much it would cost me to rent a motorcycle for a month. And then it would be my luck, it would rain, 28 days out of 30. Oh, Kathy, did you check that video out? they're talking August. This surgeon's booked that fucking far out. He's talking like the middle of August. Actually, that video, you only had to watch the first 35 seconds. Oh, when I saw that, oh, God, I laughed so hard I almost pissed myself. The man, the myth, the legend, the Birdman. I like when he just grabbed that handful of hair and pulled that guy out through the window. Oh, I loved it. I'm thinking to myself, you wear a mop on your head, you deserved to be removed from a car the way he removed that guy. And there was no mercy there. He just grabbed that. That guy was probably going, oh. If you notice, the guy didn't really fight getting out of the car. He just grabbed that whole thing. Get out of that fucking car. Okay. Then he turned him upside down, dipped his head in the bucket, and he mopped up the crime scene. Oh, I'll tell you what. Between him and Escamilla, those are two officers in Arkansas you don't want to screw with. When them lights come on, you pull over. I kept stopping it and backing it up. I enjoyed it so much. I must have watched it 10 times. And every time I saw it, I laughed harder. It was, hilarious. But you know, for a young trooper, he's got goddamn nerves of steel. Watching him do some of them chases at 130 miles an hour. He's got one hand on the steering wheel and one on the microphone, and he's just cruising like he's doing 50. And when he lines up for a pit, think. He knows the sweet spot. And he's brutal because Arkansas, they do not have a speed limit. Some states, you can't pit over 40, or you can't pit over 20 or 60. The head of the Arkansas State Patrol said, we take them out. We don't care how fast they're going. We take them out. Well, yeah, I didn't think of that. He does have a baby face. He could be older than I think. Yeah, you're right there. I'm thinking, he's maybe in his late 20s. He could be in his mid-30s. But he's got nerves of steel and brass balls, man. And, he has a knack for that job. Because I think when he went through pit training, it was something that he made up his mind, I'm going to be the best. And I could guarantee he practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced until he got it down to where he knows where the sweet spot is. Got nerves of steel, because I'll tell you, when you're running at 130 to 150 miles an hour, there ain't room for mistakes. And I think he's only wrecked one cruiser. That's why I say I guarantee he probably asked his supervisor, hey, can I spend an extra 8 hours or 10 hours a week out on the course practicing? Because he's good. And so is Escamilla. She's deadly too. But I think I read he's only wrecked one cruiser, taking a guy out, because he did a pit maneuver and the guy recovered, and they were almost like at a head-on, and he just nailed the guy. And the guy was trying to get away, and he was running behind him, getting ready to shoot the guy. The car finally got to a point it wouldn't move anymore, and he made the arrest. His car was like 1,000 yards behind him. He don't give up. That's like this afternoon I watched 2 YouTube videos. It was like a combination of 25 to 30 idiots brake checking semis. Now, you know you're not going to win. First of all, you're insane if you're going to be out on the freeway and you brake check a semi. It's like brake checking a train. The train is always going to win. And the semi is always going to win. And watching these idiots brake check a goddamn semi, there was one. The guy didn't break the semi. He did one of these, oh, I see an opening, and he snuck in. Well, as he snuck in front of the goddamn semi, he ended up sideways, and the semi was pushing him down the fucking road. And the driver evidently didn't know that this little compact, the size of a athletic shoe, was on the front end of his truck sideways. And finally another trucker, I probably yelled on the CB, hey, you got a car in front of you. He was just shoving that thing down the road. I could see him in there going, gee, oh, got to give you a little more gas here. Got a little drag for some reason. There was one idiot. It was, oh, what the hell was that SUV? It was a little thing. I can't remember what what make the goddamn thing was. Mazda, Kia, little SUV. And he brake checks a tractor trailer that had 60,000 pounds of steel on it. And it ended up like an accordion. The rear bumper was behind the front seat. How the guy didn't get killed, I don't know. And of course, you know, all these truckers have dash cams. And when they got the guy out, actually, he only had scratches and bruises. He was telling the state trooper, he rammed me from behind. And the trucker went, you want to come up in my cab and watch the video? And the trooper goes up and he replays the video, and this little shitbox pulls out in front of him, cuts him off. He lays on the horn, and the guy steps on the brake. Bam! After seeing the video, the trooper went, you'll be getting several tickets here, pal. It was somewhere between 25 and 30, and it was all over the country. It wasn't, you know, just located like Texas, of idiots pulling a brake check on a semi. I'm watching these videos and I'm going, what were you thinking? Did you think that you were going to win? That he was going to stop in time and you were going to go, No. People got to stop and realize there's 80,000 pounds. A loaded rig, unless the guy's hauling construction equipment, is 80,000 pounds. And even with the newest, latest, and greatest anti-lock braking system, that truck ain't going to stop on a dime like a car. And then you're going to pull out in front of it and brake check it? But that one with that little shitbox, he wasn't fully in the lane. And it caught him and turned him sideways, and the truck was pushing him down the freeway. And the trucker never saw it happen. Finally, somebody, probably another trucker on a CB, went, hey, you got a little shitbox you're pushing down the road. He's looking over the hood going, where? Then he stops, gets out, and sure enough, here's this car the size of an athletic shoe. It's almost as good as these people that think they're going to beat the train. Oh, I'm going to go around the gates. He ain't that far away. The train is running faster than you think. I'll tell you, there was one, God, back in the 80s, when I was driving tow truck. A woman decided in now at the time in Lakewood, they had 2 sets of tracks. So you could not trust a railroad crossing because the one train may go by and there may be another one coming next to it. You can't see it. And this woman decided she was going to try to beat the train across the tracks. Well, luckily, it hit her on the right side. That train, from the point of impact, pushed her 3 city blocks before it stopped. Went from crossing to crossing to crossing to crossing, and people saw it going by. Holy shit. And that car was literally impaled on the front end of that engine. Now, she got lucky. She got a broken ankle and a broken wrist and a lot of bruising, but to come out of it almost unscathed. But it pushed her 3 city blocks. And before the fire department could cut the car apart, we had to come out with 2 heavy-duty wreckers to pull that car off the front of the train. That's how bad it was impaled on the front of that train. And she admitted, I thought I could get across the tracks. Well, you know, you see that light. Oh, it's down at the other crossing. By the time you're halfway across the tracks, it's in your door. And when that train goes into emergency, it's not like a car where it locks up and skids the tires. Train wheels don't lock up. And you've got all that weight. You might have a 110 car train. And there's a lot of weight, forward inertia. Like I say, from the point he hit her, it was 3 crossings later, 3 city blocks by the time he got stopped. And she was along for the ride. It was amazing. She was fully conscious. She was talking to EMS, holding her arm. Oh. But she had a broken wrist, a broken ankle, bruised ribs, bruised pelvis. But the only thing broken was the ankle and the wrist. Because when I got up there with the tow truck, I got out to look and I said to the one fireman, fatal? He goes, no, we're talking to her. I said, what? The car was like a banana. And it took 2 heavy-duty, semi-big to pull that car, because I chained to the front axle or front frame assembly, and my buddy chained to the rear part of the frame assembly, and then we looked at each other and, okay, start pulling. Because we had to pull together. And I'll tell you what, those tow trucks were those winches were straining to get that car off the front of that train. And then after the fire department cut her out, I was like, I can't believe she's talking to everybody. He said, yeah, it looks like all she got was a broken wrist and a broken ankle. But she admitted it. Because in Lakewood, there are so many crossings that the side streets don't have gates. There's gates at 117th, and there's gates at 140th, and, well, Bunce, Warren, but the side streets in between just got the flashing lights. And she saw the flashing lights. She looked down the track, went, oh, I got it. She got halfway, bam! Ruh-roh! Because she told the one Lakewood cop, she said, I didn't think he'd ever stop. She was fully conscious for that ride while that train was shoving her down the track. And she said, I didn't think he was ever going to stop. She said, I didn't think the engineer knew he hit me. Well, he knew he hit you. He saw you in the middle of the tracks. But by the time he saw you and threw that fucking train in emergency, it was too late. Because I've actually been up inside of a train engine. And they've got a big red lever. And when they throw that lever, it locks up all the brakes, all the way to the last car. But you got to figure how many tons that train is. I don't know what the average loaded rail car weighs, and you figure let's just say each car weighs 100,000 pounds times 110 cars plus 2 or 3 engines. Oh, yeah. I mean, big deal. He throws that lever. He's going to have nightmares the rest of his life. Now, luckily, she wasn't seriously hurt. But I guarantee that replays in slow motion through his mind, seeing that car come up, and you know there ain't nothing you can do. You know that you're either going to kill somebody or seriously injure them. Because there is so much sheet metal on the front of that train, the engineer ain't going to get hurt. He's well protected. But I guarantee he constantly sees that in slow motion. That car coming up, getting halfway, and knowing, even though you just put it in emergency, which locks up every single brake pad on that train, you ain't going to stop for a mile. I can't remember what the train speed limit was through Lakewood, but he still shoved her 3 city blocks before it came to a stop. But she outright admitted, she went, I thought I could make it. I was in a hurry to get home. Well, you hurried yourself up into a hospital bed. And lucky you didn't get killed. I'll tell you, I've seen more people go around gates, and I cringe when I see some stupid ass do that. Because you have no idea how fast that son of a bitch is coming. And I'll tell you one train you don't want to do that with, Amtrak. Because Amtrak is allowed to run full bore. I think Amtrak came through Lakewood at 60 miles an hour. And that wasn't even full bore. I think the speed limit was 30 for freight. But Amtrak, they would blow through at 60. You'd hardly see the train. Wow. Because Amtrak has the right of way. They're the only ones that basically rarely have a low speed limit. Because I remember when I used to take the train up to Maryland, Cumberland, the conductor told me, once we get outside of Akron city limits, you will know we're outside the city limits. And I said, well, what? He said, because I used to sit next to the conductor. Because I would go up to Maryland a couple times a month. And as soon as you got outside the city limits, that engineer opened that throttle. And that train took off. I actually miss riding it. I enjoyed riding Amtrak. Because what I would do is take the train up and bring a car back. Because my buddy and his father owned a big used car lot up in Cumberland. And when his father was going to retire, my buddy retired from Ohio Bell, and he moved up there to take care of the car lot. Well, he had a shitload of friends in northeastern Ohio, and he would take orders for cars. And then he would go to the auction, buy a car, call me, and tell me, there's a ticket waiting for you. Get down to the train station. You're leaving tonight. I think we used to leave at 10 o'clock. And I had a friend that would, unfortunately, you can't pick Amtrak up in Cleveland to go to Maryland. I had to go to Akron. Well, that's only a 35, 40-minute trip. So I'd give my buddy gas money. He'd take me down to Amtrak. I'd get on the train, get off. We used to get in town somewhere between 7 and 8 in the morning. And my buddy'd be there. We'd go to breakfast. We'd bullshit for a while. And he'd say, here's the keys, here's the paperwork. Have a safe trip. And I'd come home with a used car. Deliver it to whoever. And then wait for another phone call. God, there were a couple of months every goddamn Friday night. Every Friday night for 6, 8 weeks, I was taking Amtrak. Matter of fact, the conductor would say to me, "You going to be here next Friday?" "Yeah." "Okay, I'll save you a seat." And we would bullshit back and forth. Between 30 to 40. $20 to 40. Open your eyes, asshole. Well, what did I say for Lakewood? 30? Sounds about right. But I know Amtrak cranks at 60 to 65. Because coming through Lakewood, and people used to bitch, but Amtrak, once they hit Lakewood city limits, he would just lay on that horn. That's all you heard. Not like the freight trains. They would approach the crossings. Next crossing. Amtrak, he'd just lay on that horn, going right through the city, letting everybody know, we're coming through. Get out of the way.
Wow!
Matter of fact, I saw an Amtrak train a couple weeks ago. One of the newest streamline engine. Oh man, that engine was gorgeous. Because Amtrak don't run a freight engine. They got them streamliners. I miss it though. God, I enjoyed riding the train. Because once you get moving, you really don't know you're moving. Now, there's sometimes the car may rock a little bit back and forth, but Amtrak has got big airbag suspensions. Because I would go back to the dining car and get me a snack, come back and sit and munch on a burger, some fries, talking to the conductor. And Amtrak conductors, I'll tell you what, you talk about a sharp uniform. And they take pride in their uniforms. Talk about somebody that looks really dignified, an Amtrak conductor. Very impressive, very impressive. And the coaches were always spotless and, like in the colder weather, very comfortable. I could take Amtrak cross country. I really could. I enjoyed riding the train that much. I would love to do it. Especially going through the mountains. You're up in that scenic car. And the rooms aren't that expensive. I priced it out once. They have, I can't remember what they call them. They have two different sleeper areas. And one is kind of tiny, but they have full bathrooms, showers, TV. Each room has its own adjustable heat and cooling. Very nice. And then you have the bigger one, which has got some more amenities. But I was impressed because we had stopped somewhere in Pennsylvania to let people on and off. And I said to the conductor, can I wander around and take a look? And he said, yeah. He said, just look to see if a sleeper room has occupied or unoccupied. If it says unoccupied, you can go and look around. And I was quite impressed. I really was. I could very easily go cross country. I would love it. I would love that. Because you got to remember, back in the day, very few people flew. Riding a train was basically the mode of transportation. Because flying was still in its infancy. It was expensive. You could go cross country on a train fairly reasonable. Of course, it wasn't like today, people getting on in ripped jeans and torn T-shirts. People back in the day wore, three-piece suits and hats, and women wore nice dresses, and everybody was very dignified on a train. Now, a lot of the people on a train look like they got off a Greyhound bus and stepped on the train. But train travel was big back in the day. God, I can remember being a little kid, my grandfather taking me down in Union Station under the terminal tower. There used to be a huge station down there. Because there were maybe 20, 30 trains in and out of Cleveland a day. Because Amtrak doesn't even load at Union Station anymore. They have a small terminal off East 9th. Why they don't use the Union Station, I don't know. The only thing that runs through Union Station is the rapid transit. Maybe some freight traffic, but why Amtrak built that terminal at 9th Street makes no sense to me. You got that, well, I haven't been down there in probably 30 years. At one time, it was beautiful down there. Because my grandfather loved trains. There were a lot of times he would go to the West Side Market, get us a couple of sandwiches, and just go sit in Union Terminal and watch the trains come in and out. Kind of people watch. I think that's more what he did, people watch. Because you had trains and you had steamships. That's how you got from overseas. You took a steamship. Only the rich people could afford to fly. Not to mention, planes back in the day weren't like they are today. God, first class section, you go to sleep, you got your own private booth. I don't know how people can afford to fly first class. Yeah, you have your own private little booth. And you get the a la cuisine. You're not munching peanuts and a can of Coke. You're up there having filet mignon and champagne. I knew I had a champagne. I thought I had a cork popper, though. No cork popping. I could have swore I had a champagne cork pop. No cork pop. Man, that sucks. You should have a cork pop along with the champagne pouring in a glass. That wasn't a cork pop. All right, let's see. Alphabetical. C-O. No cork. It must be on the other sound effect board. I'm going to have to fire up the old fire tablets. I knew I had a cork pop, but it's not in this. That's bubbles. That wasn't a cork pop.
Crikey.
It said crunchy chips. Sounds like somebody eating celery.
Do it.
I think I'm going to have to look through them. I see some more I should add to my favorites. Yeah, I saw that. Well, you know, the problem is there's a big shortage of air traffic controllers. Nobody wants that job. I'm pretty sure I saw where it said the air traffic controller kind of lost track of what he was doing. Yeah, that's scary. But there is a nationwide shortage of air traffic controllers. I'll tell you what, I knew a guy that his brother worked out at Oberlin, and they have to retire mandatory at 50 or 55, where an airline pilot can fly until he's 65. Air traffic controllers have a very short career. It's mandatory either 50 or 55. Because it is such a stressful job. Oh, the burnout rate is unbelievable on air traffic controllers. Read the statistics sometime. The burnout rate is unbelievable. Because there is so much air traffic. It's unbelievable. You know, people don't realize how many planes are up in the air in a 24-hour period. What, LAX, what do they take off every 45 seconds or something? Or one a minute? I know there's no screwing around. It's clear for takeoff. Go, get the fuck off that runway. I think LaGuardia, well, not LaGuardia, anyway, JFK. I think their takeoff and landing is like every 45 seconds. Imagine sitting there controlling that. You know, you're watching that plane. Get off the runway. Get off the runway. Get off the runway. We got a plane coming in for landing. Get off the runway. Because when they say clear for takeoff, it's not you sit there, light a cigarette, and go, is your seatbelt tight over there, first officer? Yeah. You got coffee? No, it's clear for takeoff. Go. Release the brakes. Hit V1 and rotate and get out of here. And then some airports, I think JFK, when you come off that runway, you have to make like an immediate left or an immediate right. Because you got one coming right down straight in for a landing. So when you got to get out of the way. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. But I'm pretty sure I read mandatory retirement, I think at 55. No matter how good you feel, how good your mental capacity is, the FAA says you're done. Happy birthday, happy retirement. See ya, clear out your desk, get the fuck out of here, leave the headset. Because there is such a shortage, they're trying to get it bumped to 60. And there is such a shortage of airline pilots, they're trying to get that increased to 70. Because there are a lot of well-seasoned expert pilots that are in perfect A1 health that could fly for another 5 years. But the FAA said, nope, you're done. Like Captain Steve. 65th birthday, he made his final landing. It's not like, can I work tomorrow? Because he said it on his website. He said, on my birthday, I made my final takeoff and landing. And he didn't want to retire. He said, I could easily work another 5-10 years. FAA said, on your birthday, pack your locker. You're done. And leave the headset. Kathy, when Hopkins was a regional hub for Continental, I could sit on my front porch and look towards the lake, and all you saw was fucking landing lights, they were, God, it was unbelievable. You're looking going, holy shit. It was unreal. You could look on a nice summer night. I could see almost to the lake, and it was just landing lights, plane after plane after plane after plane. And then when Continental closed the hub here, Hopkins, I'll tell you what, it's strange not hearing the air traffic. It is very strange. As a matter of fact, it's stranger to hear a plane go overhead. I haven't heard one the whole show. Now, they might be using the east-west runway. Now, in the morning, they use the north-south because there is one flight that takes off from Hopkins that comes over the house at 6 in the morning. And I'm not up to look out the window, but whatever it is, it's a big bird. Because you can hear it coming and going. But 6 o'clock every morning, it wakes me up. And then it might be 20 minutes before I hear another one. Now, right now, like I say, I haven't heard one at all. Now, during the day, when they're using the north-south runway, I might see a plane once every 15 minutes. Not like back in the day where, Jesus Christ, they were constant. And the ones that I really get a kick out of watching are the FedEx and UPS super freighters. Them goddamn planes look like they're flying at about 10 miles an hour. It's like, how is that thing staying up in the air? It seems like it takes forever. Of course, he's going, 300-400 miles an hour. But watching that thing, and then I noticed the other day, I have to look up the airline. The plane looks like a giant banana. It's banana yellow. I don't know what airline. I've never paid much attention, but the other day I see this banana yellow, and then about an hour later I see another banana go by. I'm like, what the hell airline is that? The planes are banana yellow. And, well, I don't think it's Frontier. It got sold, but Frontier was out of Alaska. And the tail, each plane has got a different, like one looks like an old Alaska gold miner. And then another one's got a moose. It used to be Frontier. Oh, maybe it's Frontier now. And it was Alaska Air, which is odd seeing that come into Cleveland. Spirit is the big banana. Yeah, see, I can't see the name. All I say is this big banana fly over. Because I don't even pay much attention to the air except for FedEx and UPS. But it was odd that was about a week ago. I look up and I see this big giant banana. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell airline paints your plane banana yellow? And then about half an hour later, another banana went over. I have to get my binoculars out. I've got a small set. Well, I have several. You know me. I can't have one pair of binoculars. I got from little itty bitties up until big. I look like Wile E. Coyote with the big ones. Like when his eyes go, Yeah, I have a couple of small you could put in your pocket. And then I've got the big boys. And I haven't had them out in years. Well, now I don't have to get them out. I know the bananas are Spirit. But who the hell would paint a plane banana yellow? What color were they? And what CEO was sitting in the boardroom going, let's paint the planes like bananas? I'm surprised they didn't throw bananas at him. It's a hideous color for an airplane. Banana yellow. But I'll tell you what, it draws attention. It had mine. I was like, the hell? Who is that? Now I know. I don't have to dust off the binoculars. They were red, white, and blue originally, patriotic, and they went banana yellow. Holy shit. But boy, they catch your eye. Because like I say, I don't pay any attention. In the morning, between 9 and 10, FedEx and UPS come into the airport. I never see them leave. They must take off in a different direction. But in the morning, they come in the north-south runway. And it's usually FedEx first and then UPS. And then big super freighters, you can't miss them things. But as a matter of fact, it was when I was washing the Passat. I happened to look up and I see this giant banana. And I was like, what the hell airline is that? And then the next one come by, and it was already past where I couldn't see the name. And I never thought to look up. So it's Spirit. That's one plane you don't miss at the airport. What plane are you flying, sir? I'm on the giant banana. Well, you can't miss it. It's right at the end of the concourse. Because another weird paint scheme is Southwest. Who designed that paint scheme? That's another one that's eye-catchy. But I can't see a big board meeting and the CEO says, oh, by the way, the last thing on our agenda, we're going to paint the planes banana yellow. And then he ducks when the fruit comes flying at him. I can't believe they took a vote. All in favor of banana yellow, aye. Yeah. Well, they do. They might draw attention down on the aprons. They draw a lot of attention in the sky because the last thing you expect to go by is a gigundous banana with wings. Well, yeah, the old FAA made them put, they call them combustor cans. I read up on that, and basically they're engine mufflers. They call them combustor cans. Because, yeah, some of the planes, when they go over the house, you'd feel the goddamn house vibrate from the engines. Then all the people were like, oh, that noise woke the baby up. So they told all the engine manufacturers you can't be above a certain decibel. Oh, yeah, I remember some of the big jets going over. Although I'm of the age, I remember prop planes. I remember hearing them propeller jobs for years. And then I remember when the old jets started to come into play. The difference in the sound between the prop and the jet engine. Matter of fact, Kathy might be too young. I remember, I can't remember if it was the late 50s, early 60s, when somehow, of course, security was very lax back in the day. This guy drove out of the parking lot onto the runway, and goddamn, he drove under a plane, and the prop cut holes in the roof of his car. It was on the, I remember it was on the news and in the newspaper because the photographer was inside the car and you saw the holes cut from the fucking propeller slicing the roof open. Because the airport security couldn't figure out how he took the wrong turn out of the parking lot and ended up on the runway. Yeah, well, you're a tad younger than I am. I want to say, oh, it's got to be, all right, let's see. Late 50s, early 60s. The guy took a wrong turn out of the parking and somehow, with nobody seeing him, ended up driving down the runway, and this plane went like right over the top of him and cut holes in the fucking roof. Because they said the prop missed him by a couple of inches. And they had pictures on the news and in the newspaper of all the holes cut in the roof. And the propellers were all fucking bent to shit. Because they had a picture of the plane. Well, it's good that they're thinking of customers. But whoever came up with that color, I can't believe the boardroom full of executives. We're going to be repainting the fleet. Does anyone have a color suggestion? Yeah, Charlie, what? Banana yellow. And everybody went, yeah! Let's vote. Approved. Order 750,000 gallons of banana yellow. We're repainting the whole fleet. The only airline that has their planes painted by Earl Scheib. Any plane, any color, $29.95. Or diamond gloss for $39.95. Yeah, they look like they got an Earl Scheib paint job on them. Same thing with Southwest. Let's paint our planes brown and blue and orange. Yeah. Another fleet that's recognizable. Now, back in the day, American was always just plain aluminum with the American flag. They were just plain aluminum. That's how you knew American. When a plane landed and it was all aluminum, that was American Airlines. And then Continental was white with the blue globe on the tail. And Northwest was red and gray. I remember Northwest Airlines. God, back in the day, man, you had Northwest, you had Southwest, Southeast, Pacific, you had American, Continental. Oh, what was the, oh God, they were like the luxury airliner. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, I'm going to have to look up airlines. All the ones that basically were bought out and name changes and went defunct. Pan Am. I remember Pan Am coming into Hopkins. Can't think of them all. Well, all right, that makes sense. Even though it's the orange state, I don't know if they grow bananas down in Florida. You would think if they were based out of Florida, they would be orange. That would make sense. We're based out of Florida. Our planes are orange. Spell orange. The color or the fruit? I had to throw that one in. Mainly because I remember back, my stupid son, I said to him, spell orange. He went, the fruit or the color? The fruit. Now spell the color. Oh, they're the same. Duh!
That's a low price!
Oops, wrong button.
WTF?
Boy, it's been nice and quiet. I bet he's driving his mother crazy with the rap music. It's about time she paid. It's about time she paid. He's with her 24/7 now. Rap music and Facebooking and... Although he hasn't been on Facebook. I checked. I think she took his phone away. And his tablet, and he hasn't been on Facebook, and he lived on Facebook. Oh my God. There hasn't been a posting since the day. Oh, I bet he's driving her up because he's a slob. I bet she's tired of mopping up mess in the kitchen and plates stacked to the ceiling. And, oh, I'm loving it. I would bitch, and she would like, oh, you're just exaggerating. Yeah. I'm loving it. I could see her get home from work and there'd be slop all over the stove and pots and pans and plates in the sink. Coffee stains all over her end tables. Oh, I'm loving it. Oh, man. Paybacks are a bitch. Thank you, Cuyahoga County Court System. I don't miss the rap music, I'll tell you that. Because he listened to that filthy stuff. That filthy, disgusting stuff. And she's a churchgoer. She's a Bible thumper. Oh, man. I bet you when she goes to bed at night, oh, that Bible's right in her face. The Bible thumper and the filthy rap music. What a combo. Like they say at McDonald's, I'm loving it. Oh, yeah. I would hear that shit 24/7. And his stereo was right over my bedroom. Because there were nights I would text messages and tell him there's a bullet going to come through the floor if you don't turn that shit down. I bet you all her neighbors in her apartment are just loving him. Gee, how long is your son going to be staying with you? Forever. Get used to it. Or move. Because most of her apartment complex is over 50. So I bet you they're loving it. Oh, I could see the blue-haired old women listening to gangster rap. You know what your son plays? That disgusting music. You don't have to tell me. I'm living it. Oh. You talk about a slob. Oh. I felt like a fucking maid. He would go out and make something to eat. I'd be cleaning up the counter. I'd be cleaning up the stove. Spill something. Do we no, take the sponge? Fuck no. Matter of fact, his toaster oven is so nasty, I threw it out. I didn't even want to attempt to clean it. Well, actually, I lie. I didn't throw it out. I bought myself a brand new one. I took his and put it in the box, and I put his name on the box, and it's down in the basement. If he wants his toaster oven, he can have it slop and all. I have a beautiful double door. Oh, is it beautiful? But see, when I use it, when I'm done, I clean it. Like my microwave. I'd open the microwave. I couldn't use it. I'd have to take the goddamn glass tray out, take it over the sink, scrub the shit out of it, wipe down the inside of the stainless steel before I could microwave something. Now it's so nice. Because if I get a splatter, it's clean before I go to bed. If I cook something, the pan is clean before I put it away. Him, I'd stuff it in the oven. I'd open the oven, and every pan would be grease and slop. Every time I walk in the kitchen, I'm thinking, oh, there is a God. And then I'm thinking, I bet you his mother is so pissed off she wants to kill him. Because he is a pig. And I don't know where he got it from, because neither her or I would put anything away. You know, I wouldn't think of taking a pan that I cook like Italian sausage in and stuffing it in the oven. I can't stand that. When I'm done with dinner, I go out to that sink. Everything is washed and in the strainer. And in the morning, everything gets taken out of the strainer and put back in the cupboard. Not him. Back when he got out of high school. All right, let's see. Nope. He was 20. And my niece was 18. And her girlfriend was 18. And Dale's buddy was 18 or 19. And they begged me to rent the bottom half of the double house. The guy that owned my building, he had 2 apartment buildings, and he had 2 double houses and 2 singles. And the 4 of them begged me. They wanted to go out on their own. So I said, we're going to try it. But don't get comfy, because you might not be here that long. I went over. Now, it had a big kitchen. It was an old house in Lakewood. Had a big kitchen that was like a farmhouse kitchen. The kitchen counter from one end to the other was like 6'12", I'll say 15 feet. A big, long kitchen counter. Sink in the middle. I went over one day. There were plates, pots, and pans piled 2 feet out, 2 feet high in the sink. Plates, pots, and pans over the counter. And they had a dishwasher. And I said, you've got until 8 o'clock tonight to make this kitchen spotless, or you're evicted. And my kid goes, oh, you wouldn't throw me out. I said, you're a tenant. You're not my relative. You're a tenant. If I come in here at 8 o'clock and this kitchen ain't spotless and every dish, pot, and pan put away, all 4 of yous are out of here come the end of the week. And at 8 o'clock, it was amazing how spotless that kitchen was. And then the next time I went in, shit everywhere. The only time they'd wash a pot or pan was when they didn't have any more clean ones. 4 pigs. And to this day, my niece is still like that. My sister goes over to her house and she wants to barf. Shit stacked in the sink. Stove all slopped up. I told her, I said, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And my sister keeps a spotless house. Absolutely spotless. I said, it's in the genes. We swear that my niece and my son were brother and sister in a previous life because they're both pigs. They're both the same way. It's as if they were joined at the hip. It's unbelievable. My sister and I joke about that all the time. I said, in a previous life, they were brother and sister. They really were. Because they're both fucking pigs. Not to mention, she's the driving instructor that hit the dumpster. So besides not being able to clean, she can't fucking drive either. And she got a car with a backup camera and a big screen on the dashboard. Kathy, nothing irritates the shit out of me as to see something in the sink. I cannot stand even a cup. I'd go out in the kitchen, he'd put a dirty coffee cup in the sink. I'd be washing it. Now, how long does it take to wash a coffee cup? Not him, he just, boom. Now, when I go out to make dinner, the first thing I will do is wash this coffee cup after I feed the walking belly. This will get washed before I make dinner. Then after I make dinner, I will clean tonight. Oh, I'm going to have me a little feast tonight. I went up to the butcher shop and I got some nice, authentic garlic bologna sliced on the thick side and a fresh loaf of rye bread. And I'm going to make me fried bologna sandwiches tonight. And before I put my ass in bed, everything will be clean. Now, I may not vacuum on a regular basis, but my kitchen is clean. I have to get my vacuum cleaner fixed. My Dyson roller ball needs a belt. The goddamn... I was vacuuming the other day. I'm like, I ain't picking that shit up. And the belt is slipping. And the problem is trying to find shit. Back in the day, you could get vacuum cleaner belts anywhere. Drugstore, mom and pop store. I have to order it off of eBay. There's no place around here that sells belts for vacuum cleaners. Of course, who replaces a belt nowadays? You throw the vacuum cleaner away and you go buy a new one. Because they're all shitty, crappy Chinese plastic junk. I've got this $600-some Dyson ball that was given to me because my buddy's mother bought it, used it once, and hated it and wouldn't return it because she said, I used it. You used it once. Clean it up, take it back, and tell them you don't like it. God, I've seen people take shit back to Walmart. Looks like they used it for a year. I said, get your money back. Oh, no, if you want it, take it. Oh, $600 vacuum cleaner? Oh, it's out in the car already. You didn't have to tell me twice. And I love it because it'll just about suck the carpeting off the floor. But the other day I noticed so I'm looking for vacuum cleaner parts. Back in the day, there were vacuum cleaner shops like on every block. God, I remember between 130th and Lorraine and 117th, there were at least 5 vacuum cleaner repair shops, used vacuum cleaners, everything. You walked in, there was 5,000 vacuum cleaner belts hanging on the wall. I had to order mine off of eBay. I ordered 4, so I have them. Well, there is an appliance. Now, they don't carry anything for vacuum cleaners. There is an appliance store up on Lorraine that still sells the elements for electric because I ordered one because the one big burner on my stove, one of the big ones, quit working. And it wasn't in stock. They had to order it. But they did have the broiler element because my broiler quit working in the oven. So I got that because they're nothing. 2 screws and a couple of clips and that big goofy wire comes right out. But the element... she ordered it. It'll be here next Monday or Tuesday. She said she usually has them in stock, and it was odd that somebody came in and bought an element for an old tap and range. Because this thing is from 1950. She checked the serial number. 1950, this electric stove. That goes to show you quality. Back in the day, pride in manufacturing. This is the original stove from 1950. And it's still, I don't know how many times burners have been replaced, but this is the first time since I've been here. Yeah, it's a tapping. When I went up to the appliance, the woman went, tapping? She goes, what's a serial number? And she went, holy shit, that's from 1950. I said, well, it's working. Matter of fact, I had her order me knobs because all the numbers and shit is worn off the knobs. I can't. So I said, order me a set of knobs. I'll invest in keeping the stove working for as long as I can. Mainly because there's no gas line. Out of all the neighbors I talked to, this is the only house that does not have a gas line for a gas stove. They went electric from day one and never... Because I was going to get rid of this thing and... Matter of fact, I had bought a gas stove at Habitat for Humanity, and when I realized there was no gas line, I went and got my money back because it was going to cost me like $200 and some to have a gas line put in the kitchen. I went, I'll stay with my old piece of shit stove. Oh, God, yeah. It was right in the center of the door. I can't remember what make that was. I remember them. They looked odd as hell. Because usually the handles on the right or the left, they were right in the middle of the door. And it pulled down like a beer tap. Yeah, I remember them fridges. One of my buddies from grade school, his parents had one. Well, that's got to be from the 40s, maybe early 50s. I know that design didn't last long. You never saw too many of them in people's houses. Oh, the belly's here. Wow, you're late. You're really late. Well, that makes up for last night. I had to ditch the show from last night. We finished early, and then the damn mute button, I didn't push it hard enough, and everything from my conversation was... so I had to delete last night's show. Well, the belly is here.
That's it, I'm through.
Time to call it a night. We know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and an Oscar. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. And with that, me and the Walking Billy say, see ya.